Wholeness. Man. So, yeah, it's me, man. Listen. Oh my God. It's like, this is so much, man. It's like, when I say that this is truly like groundbreaking. Especially, man, the first thing I want to actually say is, man, I just want to give like all thanks, man, to, and I'm going to say thanks and grace to the ancestors. You know, to all the gods, man, to all of the ancestors, all of the great kings and queens, known and unknown, inside of different spaces and parallel universes that we consider to be either past, present, or future. And we'll get into that. But the first thing I actually want to do is, man, I just want to bring y'all forward to this one little space. I want to show y'all that information is very, very abundant. And not only is information abundant, but for the most part, information is free. Now, don't get it wrong. Some of the most advanced levels of this information that comes with being able to use and build bridges between harmonic structures and frequencies in a reality, those you may have to start paying people for their services. And it's only understood. I mean, just think about it. You pay how much for CDs and DVDs, or you know what I'm saying, like with material that's on them that really doesn't even have anything that's capable of getting you to the next stage of anything. It's like you'll pay $13 for a CD from somebody that it's basically just 16 tracks of hot garbage. And I'm just going to give you the real, especially the music nowadays. Now, it used to be a little bit more creativity to it when, you know, people used their real life experiences to stay present in the moment and give it to people. Now, it's like everybody lying. You see what I mean? And the reason that the music don't make no sense no more is because everybody lying. Like, I'm trying to tell you that, like, a lie don't add up, it don't make sense. The reason that the music don't make sense and everybody get dizzy trying to make something out of it is because 9 out of 10, everybody lying. Trust me, I am around, like, close to, like, people, rappers that are on social media daily with artificial money. And I mean this, counterfeit money, showing it, stunting on people, and, you know, arguing and bickering and beefing with people that really got money. And I'd be like, man, y'all gotta stop this, man. Like, you can't be beefing with people that really got it. Like, but it shows you that, man, this is the perfect time for me to bring this information to y'all, so that it is show you that, man, listen, the reason that the world is going in the direction that it's actually going is because 9 out of 10, I'm gonna say that one of those things are everything is just a lie. Everything is a lie. And because everything is naturally just a lie, it's starting to cause everybody and everything inside of that paradigm to live inside of the consciousness, using that as a template to birth their reality. So everything else is just coming out as a lie. Now, next, I just want to say, man, all love to Secret Energy, Savan Bomar, to my brother Curtis Haru, my brothers Eddie Ingris, I'm sorry, brother Sage, brother Julian, sister Naya, like Deese, Wendy, Chuck, like, man, I can just go on and on, man. Like, it's a lot of brothers and sisters, and I know I didn't just name everybody, but it's not even meant for me to actually be naming or not naming everybody. I just wanted to give love to people that I personally had the opportunity to exchange, you know, like heart to hearts with and build with. Wow, Deese, you are something different. Struck me. But anyway, listen, coming forward, we're gonna talk, man, I got a few subjects, and this is only part 1, because the things that I'm introducing to you right now, we don't even have the time inside of just this video segment or a day to decipher, break down, put it all together. But with the information that I'm bringing you, because this information was brought to me. Now, a lot of it I had, but some of the most recent information that I got is like synchronistically put all of the pieces to the puzzle together to what we're experiencing here. And this is all I'm introducing to you right here, right now, because I want you to gain an understanding to what is going on inside of the reality and why we're all divided the way we are. But we can all come back together as a human race, not as different fragmented aspects of an entire race, because we look at each other as different from each other, not realizing that we're not different from each other. We all come up out of the same exact structural template. You see what I'm saying? And not only that, we all have more in common than you would honestly or actually believe. And I can say that because, hey, listen, man, I have a multitude of different races inside of me. And I'm proud to be this exact being, this totality of what and who I am right now. Like, there is nothing greater than to actually be able to experience the different diameters or diasporas of consciousness that I've been actually obliged to. I'm honored. I'm honored to have actually been able to experience the different spaces where, you know, consciousness exists in parallel forms, particle and anti-particle. So, and this is what I'm actually trying to show you, that, man, it's not that people are different than anybody. We're just experiencing a reality based upon the perception that we're developing. If you take it from the actual characteristics of what this really is, it's a holographic reality, a fractal holographic universe. Everything is pixelated, right? Pixelated. Take that. I'm serious. Now, we're going to get to talking about things like the checkerboard mutation, the universal time matrix, Amenti, Ezekiel, the ionic pairs, the 12-tree grid, the 12D ray, the diamond sun, the seraphim, the hyperboreans, the golden eagle grid, the metatronic reversals, the Lyrian wars, Nephilim wars, the silicate matrix, the soul matrix, the Thaltian grids, like root races, solar logos, planetary logos, central nervous systems, Tiamat, the triune universe, Terra, Melchizedek's, the Michael and Mary turnstile matrix, the universal time matrix, if I didn't mention it, like Meldek, like there's, oh my God, the Anunnaki beings. Like, I'm gonna break down so much information for you that I am blessed to have had this opportunity to study non-stop. And I do, outside of everything, want to give much, much, much love to Nina, because without Baby, like, you just don't understand. She's a champ. When you know, bro, listen, man, when you find you, I'm talking about a stomp down winner, like, oh my God, bro. I never, like, I'm telling you now, I never knew these type of women really existed. Bro, I'm from the hood. Oh Lord, no. The types of things that we use to idolize or phantomize, like what we depict as like some type of phenomenal woman or great woman or queen being, it's not the reality. So this is what I'm trying to show us. Let's collapse all of the walls of division so that we can go back to how it used to be. Remember in the days, man, like everybody kicked it. We communicated, man. Like we came together, man. It was more togetherness. Even now, the only times we have a real communication, we do that through like text message, or we call each other, or we do, you know, like recordings and Facebooks. And come on, man, this is what's causing us to desensitize our original instincts. Now, here is where I'm going with this, because you have to understand why I am bringing all of this information to you. This information that I'm bringing to you is not really obsolete. It is not that it has never been actually presented into the mainstream, because millions of people know about this just Billions of people don't. But because I love my people, and that even the people that have done me wrong, I don't care. Like, I don't care about anything I've ever experienced in the past. I've done people wrong. People have done me wrong. Forgive me, I forgive y'all. Let's just wipe that shit clean. This is a new beginning. And the moment you decide that you will no longer allow other people and the things that they've done, or the things that they have said, or the things that they do to affect you, to derail you, or change that current position that you are standing in and basing, then, man, you will start to honestly get to see the reality for what it is. If you're not controlled by other people's perspective or other people's judgments of you, then you really have more of you to focus on you. And you, oh my God, have not met you yet. Listen to me. You won't understand the amounts of hours of meditation, the amounts of hours of different forms of shadow building, spiritual building, bonding with I'm serious. Like, you don't understand. I go so hard for this. And I am still at a daily basis starting to learn myself, starting to discover who I really am. Who am I outside of wanting everybody to like me for all of the different things that I've used to identify or to amplify who I thought I was in the reality versus who I really am. It even caused me to build prisons and prisms inside of my own consciousness, man. You see what I'm saying? That you just don't understand, man, that when you start to let go of a lot of these images, and I'm saying that, man, this is like to everybody, man. You see what I mean? Like, I don't care what kind of beef we ever had. I love you, bro. Like, and this is the reason that I do this. And the reason that I be frustrated is because I just realize that nobody understands. And everybody always want me to listen to what they're saying, but then you'll waste my time talking about nothing. And I'll just try to speed you on up into the reality. Like, hey, listen, look, let me give you the answer to all of this stuff. It's like, I have already opened those different caverns inside of my brain. You got to think, man, that I've been dead a few times, not just once, a few times. I've been dead and come back here. Each time I have left this reality and came back, I brought back more and more and more and more, let's say, sound wave or electro wave energies. I brought back more of what I needed now to bring this to y'all. I'm the same brother from the block. I'm the same dude that used to roll up with you brothers and sisters, man. Like, I'm the same person that was homeless without anything, man. Like, I'm trying to tell you, I slept in garages. I slept in abandoned cars, man. You see what I mean? Like, I'm no different than you. I'm not separate from you. Man, y'all my people. Like, we are connected, and we're going to need all of us to stand up right now, take that divine authority of what and who we are so that we can steer this planet into this ascension. And this is just what we're calling it, because it is. It's an ascension from a microcosmic expression, but a dissension from a macrocosmic aspect or a perspective, and we're just unifying that entire body of energy so that there is no separation, not even inside of the neural network of our consciousness of what's taking place in the reality. I love y'all, Joe. This is not me trying to be somebody that I'm not. Like, I am who I am, and I am what I am. Anybody that know me, know me. If you don't, okay, you can get to know me, but you can know me in any way you want to. You can know the beautiful version of me. You can know that innocent, that loving, that nurturing, that, you know, that energy fearing person. Like, oh, I ain't gonna say fearing, that energy feeling person. Like, you can know that person, or you can know that other side. Like, I have all of it bottled up inside of me. All of it exists, but not just in me, in y'all too, because we have all experienced similar situations that have made us what we are. I've just pushed myself into more stupid situations that have been able to groom me in the aspect or in the likings of what you guys need me to be, man. Because whether you know it or not, you don't always need passivity. You don't always need somebody to come to you and be like, namaste, sweetheart. You don't always need that. Sometimes you really need somebody to come through the door and say, no, this is not how it goes. Like, you need that physical authority, man. Because see, when there is no authority, then the children start to fuck shit up. The children go out to play. So I know this because I am and has always been a victim of this, just like my people. And I don't mean black people. So when you say that, or when you hear me say that, don't think that I'm saying black people, because that's not who I'm talking about. I mean my human people, my human. Hu means harmonic universe, H-U, man. We are human or harmonic universe beings that exist inside of harmonic universes. Even a woman, which is the womb man, is a man. It's just that we experience different polarities, man. Like, for instance, and I'm finna let you know this so that we can break down some of these fake ass egos, man, and just be who we is. Like, look at the things that we sending the planet through by everybody just pretending to be somebody that we actually not. Playing out these different archetypes or different archonic ass deceptions of behaviors and personalities that get us caught inside of a whirlwind of trouble and shit that we really don't want to experience. Now, I can say this because why? Come on, brother. I've been there. I'm telling a person how to like get a grip on this shit before you have to actually see what I've seen, experienced, and felt in order for you to realize it. We don't have to do all of this. It's just inside of the time that we're in. Now we have to. Right? So now let me give you this. This information has been hidden from us, and this is the reason that nothing, and I know I was going into something else, but look, I just want to keep it moving. I'm sorry, because like I never did like this before, and this is going to be more in depth for me, man. So, and it's just for me to show you that I will also be introducing other people with much more knowledge and information on some of these subject matters, that you would be able to gain a lighter or a more stern understanding. Because you got a lot of people that say that they conscious just because they know ain't no such thing as God. And no, that's not that. No, you're not conscious. You got a lot of people that be on social media sharing a whole bunch of information, but they don't understand what the information means, because if they understood what any of it really meant, the most in-depth meaning behind it, then they would be living in accordance to that. They would be applying some of that to the very alchemical structure or layout to their day-to-day reality. I know beings that take all of the information. Man, much love to my brother, man. I'm seeing to my big brother, Seven, man. Y'all got to check him out, man. Savine Bomar, bro. To my other brother, Curtis Haru, you check him out. He got something going. And for like my Haitians, you see my people that speak Creole, I think, yeah, for all my, I'm sorry. For all my kings and queens that speak the Creole language, you can check out my sister D Swidgeby. I don't know if I just actually pushed her entire plug or link out there just correctly. I just want to, because listen, man, this information got to flow freely. There's a church on every corner. There's a liquor store on every corner in our community. There's another store or outside foreign entity ruling and running the economic infrastructure inside of the socio base or cultural base of every community, man. And why do I say that this is important? I'm not using this to say that we need to develop some type of racial barriers. No, race is different, but this ratio stuff, if you can go, man, go look. My brother Seven broke all of that. Hey, look, man, he knocked that one all the way out the park. With what they're doing is dividing us into so many different aspects. Like they divided us into languages, divided us into races, which is just ratios. Race is ratio. You are being divided into the lowest common forms of denomination that you can actually exist in, so that there will always be a feuding, a bitching, and a bickering amongst the people that will prevent them from being able to come together. We have all sided with so much distorted, fragmented, and foreign information that have been pushed to us by these people. And I'm going to get into how this is actually taking place. Yes, this information is new. It has not been actually introduced before. So now, oh man, I just got to get y'all into it, man, because see, I don't want to go in too far, man, without allowing y'all to get an understanding. But remember, like I said, this is part one. And I know that, you know what I'm saying, like I'm all over the place with it right now. Forgive me, it's a lot of energy flowing through me. I just want to get this to y'all so that y'all will understand, especially for like my black brothers. Come on, man. Like, listen, Joe. I understand everybody want to be the master race. I understand everybody want to be the first race to ever exist on the planet. Like, I understand all of this, man. And everybody want to be that because everybody is being navigated or pushed into that direction. And some of this information I'm going to bring you is going to show you how this is happening and why. Because these people have more control over your mental and physical faculties than you think they do. And this is why they are polluting the entire reality, your body, your foods, your waters, everything, the air, with so much nanotechnology. I love y'all, Joe. It's time for us as a whole to take back the reality. I know y'all might think that this is a little bit absurd, or you might think, what is take back the reality? Meaning that our entire reality is being actually controlled, engineered, and created out of the systemic production and agenda of just a chosen few secret societies, brotherhoods. And even those little few, they come together and make up a complete composite. Like, they're keeping all of this information behind. Even when you get to speaking about societies like the Illuminati, whether you know it or not, the Illuminati, and I gained this great information, like I say, shout out to my brother, man, Sevan Bomar, that the Illuminati we're dealing with right now is not even actually the real Illuminati. It's not the original Illuminati that were here originally first. This is like a new Illuminati that have actually based their entire principles upon basically the power companies, right? The power, lights, gas, like the Thomas Edisons of everything. Like, how do you think they put Tesla out of the game? Like, well, y'all got, listen, man. And I'm going into showing you that a lot of this stuff that they showing us and they calling it ancient, this stuff is not so ancient. Yeah, I gotta rub my, my energy for the day, man. Like, it's not really so ancient. It's more closer to our timeline than you actually think it is. And I'm going to show you how they, or why they actually went through all of this work to cover all of this up. Hey, now, and I'm saying that everybody can do this, because if I can sit here and come together with, oh my God, and listen, this is not even, oh man, do you think this is half of the information? Or do you think that this is even a centimeter of the information that I have? Or do you think that this is even a fraction, a fractal? No, I have everything that the universe has inside of me. You do too. All you have to do is clear out all of that dark, gooey ass space inside of your body, right? All of that energy that's being housed and created from all of this dark force energy, right? Your thoughts, your ideals, right? Just your like, and I'm not gonna get into all of that part, because see, this can go so far, man. Do y'all understand it? This conversation, that's the reason I want to span it out. So without further ado, baby, I gotta go in and show y'all this information, man. Please allow me to share this screen. So this will put you into a deep mind frame of some things, man. Let's just glide into it before I talk y'all ears off and y'all don't want to listen to me no more. I love y'all, man. And this is a must that we do this. Wait a minute. I want to make sure that I'm sharing my sound and everything. I got to share my screen for y'all. But I want to make sure I'm sharing the sound, everything, so I don't miss anything. Okay. Let's go, baby. right, I'm just trying to get control of this, man. I'm sorry. Like I told you, I ain't really too good at all of this stuff, man, but here we go.
There is a fifth dimension, beyond that which is known to man. It is a dimension as vast as space and as timeless as infinity. It is the middle ground between light and shadow, between science and superstition, and it lies between the pit of man's fears and the summit of his knowledge. This is the dimension of imagination. It is an area which we call the twilight zone.
So I just want to, I'm finna guide y'all through something, man. Because when I tell you that this is a must, that you see this, like, okay, we know who these people are. Hold on, let me get back up out of there. Hey, you know, it'll mess up on me because I ain't too shabby with this. But at the same time, watch. Hey, listen, just bear with me, family. I promise you, man. At the end of all of this, you're gonna see how important it was to actually stand here with me and flow like this. All right. Now, I remember in the Bible they was talking about this race of people or something. Right now, they called it a few different names though. But I know everybody understand who the Nephilim are, right? The Nephilim. So me studying like, damn, Joe, the Nephilim, so like all of this information has already been flowing anyway. You see what I'm saying? And the reason I'm gliding through these pictures real fast so you can see them is because trust me, there's a reason. Just log all of it into your mind and just see it, right? Those are just still shots. There's a reason, a promise. Check this out.
I'm about to give you a sneak preview of a film that I'm working on. The clip that you are seeing will actually be used in an up-and-coming film entitled The Nephilim. I've been exploring a Nephilim for decades now, and the reason why I'm giving you this little taste of information that I was going to present in the film is because last Friday on the History Channel, specifically the Ancient Aliens series, which I think is like 8 or 9 years running now, they had a Paracas elongated skull. They tested the skull, and they showed the results of the testing. What we found incredibly interesting, and this is why I had to come on the record today, Monday, following last Friday's appearance on the History Channel. The mitochondrial DNA, which comes from the maternal, the mother's side of the family, showed a European Middle Eastern haplogroup. Why is this important? Because this is a completely different artifact, completely different skull than the ones that we tested. Apparently, according to Jared, the owner of the skull, this particular artifact had been in a museum literally for decades, never been tested. So they did two things. They did DNA testing, and they did they put the skull into a CAT scan. The CAT scan showed part of the sagittal suture basically fused together. Now, there's a disease called cranial synostosis, which over a period of time, and it usually happens later in life, someone in their 70s or 80s, when that sagittal suture, which runs from the forehead here back to the rear plate, the occipital plate, fuses together. What the CAT scan showed was that it was already fused, and this was a child between 12 and maybe 16 years of age, somewhere in that age bracket. So what's interesting about this, many of the skulls that we've handled in Paracas show a lack of sagittal suture. I'm about to show you two skulls here. These skulls that you see here are one-to-one models made by our good friend Joe Taylor at the Paracas History Museum when Senior Juan Navarro was curator and still.
I will have the links to every one of these videos and you know, like in they'll be enclosed in the video that I actually upload.
Alive. So as you can plainly see from looking at these skulls, both of them have a complete absence of a sagittal suture. There's nothing running from the frontal plate back to the rear plate, the occipital plate. That was one of the characteristics that we found in the Paraka skull. And the skull on the History Channel also showed that. Here's something to think about. The mitochondrial DNA testing results from the Ancient Aliens show showed a haplogroup coming from Europe and the Middle East. Why is this startling? Why is this important? Because this is a completely different lab, different anthropologist, not part of our team, and he came up with the same results that we show in Watchers 10 and my book, Nephilim Hybrids, showing a European haplogroup and a Middle Eastern haplogroup. This shouldn't be there. This rewrites history as we know it. What it points back to is the veracity of our hypotheses that when Joshua and Caleb went into the Promised Land 3,500 years ago, Nephilim tribes were there. There are people who vehemently disagree with this. That's fine. But that's our hypothesis. And you know what? If that's true, we should see remnants of that. And that's basically the nexus, the centerpiece of my work. The idea that there are artifacts all over the United States and South America and Central America. We see structures like Teotihuacan, like the Great Circle Mound in Ohio, and other places like Cahokia, which I believe were not built by Native Americans. I believe Cahokia specifically and the Great Circle Mound were maybe Nephilim architecture, fallen angel technology. So all that to say this, coming on the record, had to do it because of what the History Channel is showing. And immediately, the History Channel spins it back to ancient aliens, ancient astronaut, theorists. And there's a discrepancy. We both know, Giorgio Tsoukalos and the whole crew at the History Channel, and myself, we're on parallel universes, as it were. We know something is going on. We know there's a hidden history. We know that this information has been kept deliberately from the American people, from the people of the world, and that artifacts and evidence have been deliberately obfuscated. We know that. Certainly that's true. However, where we disagree, where we part company, is they're looking to the stars. They're looking to our ancient astronauts, people from another galaxy, another planet. And I'm saying, no, that's not what we're looking at. There's an interdimensional hypothesis here. There's an interdimensional paradigm which we need to embrace. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days. And I think the vestiges that we see in these skulls here all point to the veracity of our hypotheses. When we look at these skulls here and we realize, even though our DNA results are preliminary and more testing needs to be done, it corroborates what the History Channel Ancient Alien series found and discovered, that the DNA links back to a haplogroup which originates in Europe and or the Middle East. That's astounding.
Now, that's not it, man. Trust me, like, I gotta take you, because, man, this information is too deep, man. I gotta take you into it. So, how many people remember this movie right here? And now I remember the movie, and this is what made me want to say that, man, listen, everything that's presented to you in the form of entertainment, don't believe that it's actually entertainment. And I learned that when, I was just gaining a better understanding of the woman, Sophia Stewart, who actually wrote The Matrix before it was stolen from her. She wrote all of the Matrix movies, as well as, if I'm not mistaken, Total Recall or something like that, or is it End of Days? One or the other. It's one of the, hell, maybe both. I ain't sure. But either way it go. Check her out, Sophia Stewart. I remember this movie, though. She ain't the one who wrote this. It just made me think about it. And it made me come back to this. I remember these people, right? Hearing the story of Yakub, the big-headed scientist, and his cousin Yashmal, right? So the reason I say this is because I want you to understand. I'm going to bring it all to a close to you. And this is because this right here will help us be able to gain a better connection to what's taking place on the planet, man. Real life shit, and I mean this. So y'all got to work with me here. I never really did all of this, and I'm not really too technological right now, but I promise, just work with me. There's a specific one I'm looking for to find for you.
Okay, this is really the draft of an outline of a survival manual, which I've been putting together, dealing with certain concepts which are unfamiliar and rejected by others. It's very clear they're under tremendous attack. And just to name a few of the things, we have geoengineering, HAARP weather control, droughting out California. We have electromagnetic radiation soaking us. We have Fukushima. We have GMO foods. We have vaccinations, and we have medical care which is antiquated and not up to stuff. And so we are under attack. And I guess obesity is another thing, because the food is improper, is not what it should be. And why are we under attack? Well, the thesis that I've put forward is that we're under the control, under the manipulation of a big brain species, which has been here a long, long time. One of the names of this one species is Homo capensis, because that was studied by Robert Broom and named. Their other one, or there may be more than one, is a big brain one, monoparietal plate conehead. And why would I say that these things or these entities or beings are in control? The evidence, it can be summarized in one way, in that there is a lot of evidence and it's suppressed. The academic world doesn't go there. So if something is important and it's ignored, that indicates that that information is being hidden. Now, what do we do about survival? How does this affect our survival? The bottom line on our future, I think, is not appreciated. The projected bottom line is not appreciated by most people at all. I think the general feeling is that things are going to get worse, a little bit worse, a little bit, but there's a floor somewhere. It'll stop.
Okay, hold on, one more. I got a few more, but I want to keep them flowing, man, so you can get this information, so that you can see something that I'm finna put together for you, or help you see.
Karen, just before we went to air, we were discussing the global corruption, the global syndicate, the bankers. Who are these people? Who are the individuals? Who are the puppet masters pulling the strings of the bankers?
Well,
you had mentioned the Jesuits in a previous interview, so I'm intrigued as to know, where is the connection to the Jesuit order, as well as, through the Vatican and beyond. There's many secret societies in the world. Many people speak of the Illuminati and the Masonic orders, the Order of the Garter, many of these super elite organizations that operate in secrecy. So I know I've named a few already, but if you could help us elaborate on these points, who are the people pulling the strings?
well, do you remember when there were ghettos and you had something called a Judenrat that were the ones that would draw up the lists of the Jews that were going to get exported the next day? Do you remember how that system worked?
Well, it was a little before my time, but history would dictate what happened in those ghettos. So elaborate.
These were traitors to their people who were helping because they thought they were going to save themselves. That's maybe why they did that, but it doesn't matter what their motives were. They were doing the work against their people. Now, think of this as an elaboration on a larger scale, and what we're dealing with actually is humanity and the elite, the secret societies, the Vatican. They're traitors to humanity, because the one at the very core that's pulling the strings is a different species. They're not the human race. They're called homo capensis. They have been on Earth together with humanity for before this ice age. And the reason I know about this is because I was trying to help out a movie producer who couldn't get his movie. It was called The Banksters Made Off with America, Edmund Drille. And he introduced me to his network of whistleblowers. One of the people in that network is a neurologist who went to Yale Medical School and was retired. And he was trying to find out what was at the very core of all of this corruption. And
so you mentioned this species, an additional species of humans, or
no, they're not humans. They are so distinct from humans that if they were to mate with humans, their offspring would not be fertile.
Now, are you speaking of the biblical Nephilim is an entity that people have discussed and tried to understand for millennia, and that is the race of offspring of humans and the fallen angels from.
No, these are not angels. These are not spiritual.
Well, the Nephilim themselves were the offspring of the fallen angels and humanity. Is this the same species?
They are not fallen angels. Mm-hmm. They are critters. People who I am getting emails from saw them the day before. They look just like human beings, except they have these big skulls. And that is why in the Vatican, you see these crazy meters, is what they're called. And that's why the very first Jew, Moses, wore one of those things, because he was one of those homo capensis as well. We have DNA samples of them. And the reason we know this is because it was in the papyri of one of the pyramids. I found this out from from the internet. But what is really remarkable, actually, is that we have had so much evidence and we haven't had any studies into it. If you look at the archaeology, there is a civilization off the coast, because the sea level has risen by 400 meters. But what do we know about this ancient pre-Ice Age civilization? We do have a map that's left over from there, because it shows the coastline of Antarctica before the ice froze on it. And it's following that landmass perfectly. So what we have is evidence. There's also evidence in South.
Hey, and I'm also gonna get into it, and I'm gonna show you how even what we're saying, like what took place between this ice age, and man, this took place with a weapon that these people had actually gotten a hold of, that was created by the Hyperborean race. Now, the Hyperboreans are also a race of people that existed on this planet, but not inside of this third level of density. Right? There are 5 levels of density, 5 levels of this reality, or different timelines or planes that exist, right? Dimensional frequencies, or however, it's because people say the same thing so many different ways, and then you always think that people saying a lot of different stuff, but they saying some of the same stuff using different words, like the word Agartha and Shambhala and Amenti, and you see, these are all the same words, man. So like, I'm just taking you into that to show you and give you an understanding of, man, this is what we're actually dealing with. So when we come into a space or a place to where most of reality or our history doesn't add up, it doesn't make sense anymore, this is why. This when you start to see, because these things have been erased from it in order to hide the controllers. And those controllers are the manipulators of all of these different grids, all of these different ley lines, and not just to mention that what you see existing inside of the planet, these different grids, nodes, ley lines, power points, all of this also exists inside of you. So when you have us arguing about what race of people came first, or what race of people was here before what other race, these are all minute type of things to be discussing, but that were created by these beings. These beings are not creators or creator gods. They are mathematicians. They don't have what you would consider as connection to this emotional connection like we do as humans, because we exist in a harmonic state with the universe. We have a spirit and a soul that helps us to bridge this physical body. There's three different elements, three different states or whatever, in which three different harmonic states in which we actually exist. You see what I mean? And we're going to go into that too, the three first primordial sound waves, which I'm explaining to you, the cosmic trinity and the tri-wave consciousness. And I'm also going to get into, like I say, fractals, pixels, crystals, and I forgot the other one, man, but my brain's moving fast. I just want to get you guys into this, man, so I can show y'all that this is what's going on. There is no such thing as racist. Take all of those words out. We are all brothers and sisters. We are all family. We are all from the human race. There is no hate amongst us, but inside of the minds of the people that are still distorted and that still have fragmented perceptions. Why? Because I'm also going to get into this too, who this Inkian thought and all of these beings are. They're not who you think they are. They're not who people say they are. None of it, bro. Like, you got, and I'm saying it to my black folks, like, man, come on, bro, we got this, bro. Like, we don't have to do all of this, taking on all of these different names of all of these different beings that we don't even know who they is, or we don't even understand where they come from, the genealogy of them. Just because they come from this Egyptian background, we think that, and like, you know, we want to argue with these people. This is the reason that they're showing you that Egyptians are more light-skinned people and this, that, and that, because they are. Because the Egyptians are not the Kemetans. And we need to understand that. The same Hebrew people, the Hebrew, right? These are the same people that was the original Egyptians. But when they got ran up out of Egypt, you can go back into the story of the Hyksos people. When they got, or the Hyksos kings, when they got ran up out of Egypt, right? They came back under a new name. Now they was the Hebrew. But just trust me, all of this information is finna come out to you now. And it's not that I'm the first one bringing it. I'm the first one bringing it to many of my people that are still stuck inside of these different fragmented planes, these different parallel realities where there's no connection. Because whether you know it or not now, man, we are building our entire complete ecosystem, a neural network of ingredients that would allow us to connect to each other and span this different forces of energy across time. And this is just what we're doing here, family, I promise. Like, we're taking this to a new scale, man. We're up in this. Now I want to show y'all something, man. This is for my black brothers and sisters, man. Like, you know, we always got to get caught up in some stuff the wrong way. So I love y'all. Hey, I love y'all though, I promise you, bro. Like, y'all, my people, I ain't against my people. I'm with my people. It's just that we got to understand what the people look like that are preying on our lack of intelligence with their excessive amounts of intelligence, and see how they're using that to just get what they want, to get them inside of the same arenas that they are speaking so adamantly and cold-heartedly against. And this is why I'm trying to tell you that they selling you all of the information. In the beginning, the information be free. Then in the end, it's all for a fee. And it just shows you that, man, that's where they're going with this. Now, don't get it wrong. Certain things you just, like, everything is not going to be free. I understand. But what I'm saying is, let's stop judging. Let's stop pointing the finger. Let's stop arguing. Because even amongst us as Black people, there is no reason that we can't come together with all of our resources and all of our information. And I mean all of our power minds, all of our Dr. Umars, all of our Dr. Sebis, all of our Brother Polites, all of our young Pharaohs, all of our 7 Bomars, all of our Dynamo Jakks. You see what I'm saying? Because there's a large scale that, you know what I'm saying, of brothers and sisters that are still here dropping this information that are like, all we need to do is be able to come together and literally build a real conscious community. Because part of being conscious means understanding where we are right now inside of the universe, where we are headed, and how as a people we can design and build something together and put something together that we can all help steer this planet in consciousness into this 7D reality. Because so many people are still being steered into these lower forms of projection, meaning that some people are still experiencing death. A lot of people won't experience death. We'll experience what you would consider as thermodynamics, because we know that there is no such thing as death. So that type of a fear doesn't exist at that space for us anymore. We have already reached that space and crossed it and came back. Now we're standing in between worlds, relaying information through portals, right? Now, take this information, baby. Mr. Big, because of my size. Mr. Big, they call him Mr. Big, Mr. Big, Mr. Big. But not because of my size. Mr. Big, they call him Mr. Big, Mr. Big, Mr. Big. But not because of my size. Mr. Big, they call him Mr. Big, Mr. Big, Mr. Big. But not because of my size.
Thousands of years ago, on this planet we call Earth, our planet was visited by various groups of extraterrestrial humanoid beings. These extraterrestrial humanoid beings had to leave their planet and seek refuge here on Earth because their home planet had been destroyed by evil. When these extraterrestrial humanoid beings arrived on Earth, they chose to take residence inside the center of the Earth, because the surface of the Earth was inhabited by human beings. At this point in time in Earth's history, the human beings who lived on the surface of the Earth were all of one tribe, the Ebenoid tribe. Since they live inside the Earth, these extraterrestrial beings have now become interterrestrial beings. The center of the Earth where these interterrestrial beings reside also contains an inner sun. The inner Earth has been called by a variety of names by cultures around the world, including Shambhala by Buddhist, Agartha by Tibetans, Kurnuji by the ancient Mesopotamians, the Duat or Aminta by the ancient Egyptians, Hades or the underworld by Europeans, Xibalba by the Mayans, and in modern times, the concept of the inner Earth has given rise to what is called the hollow Earth theory. Unbeknownst to many human beings, the activities of these beings which reside inside the Earth has affected the course of human history and human development. The first and most noble of the beings which resides inside the Earth is called the Shayuk. Compared to human beings, the Shayuk would be considered geniuses with exceptional intelligence, and telepathic and telekinetic abilities. The Shayuk have a dark brown skin complexion, they are between 5 feet to 7 feet tall, and their heads, brains, and cranial capacity is much wider and larger than the average human. The Shayuk come to the Earth's surface occasionally to teach and to trade with certain tribes of human beings. The teachings of the Shayuk are so profound that when they come to the Earth's surface to teach, they are often called deities, gods, priests, prophets, messengers, and seers, and because of this fact, the Shayuk have strict laws which limit the interaction of Shayuk tribal members' contact with the humans on the surface. The Shayuk commonly interact and have mixed in with the surface world humans called the Danakil or Danakil, also known as the Afar people, in present-day Eritrea, Djibouti, Ethiopia, and Somalia. The chief of the Shayuk is named King Fukur, and his daughter is named Princess Radiya, and 2 of his brothers are named Amo and Yishak, who has always been jealous of his brother King Fukur. King Fuekor's brother Ammo had fallen in love with a surface-dwelling human female, and he would sneak to the surface world to visit her, and would also pass himself off to the surface-dwelling humans as a psychic and a magician, and for these acts, Ammo was exiled to live on the surface, 20 miles outside of the present-day city of Mecca in Saudi Arabia. As long as the people in the inner earth spent most of their life in the inner earth, then they will not die. However, to be exiled to the surface world means a person from inner earth will eventually die like the mortals on the surface. In the caverns adjacent to the Shuyuk, resides another group of nobles called the Sinin. The Sinin are also highly intelligent, but also have a fighting spirit.
I'm just actually showing y'all this, man, so I can show you now. We're breaking all racial barriers, brother. Black, white, purple, and pinstripe, man. We're breaking all racial barriers, brother. Like all of these divisions and all of this, nah. We're not on that. And we're not using racism as an excuse to actually manipulate the frequencies of our people no more either.
The Sinin are between 5 feet to 7 feet tall and have a variety of complexions from yellow to brown, and they are hairless and are most noted for their cone-shaped heads. The Sinin commonly interact and have mixed with surface world humans including the ancient Egyptians, the Olmecs in present-day Central.
Right? You see there who that is. That right there. You see this picture? Ah, yeah, I got you. Hold it.
Central America, the Mangitog people in the African Congo, and the Paracas people in Peru.
The Paracas people in Peru, the Egyptians, the Olmecs, they showing you, man, now just understand that this is what we're dealing with, brother. Like, take down all of the different, somebody else is controlling your perception. Your identity or your idea of your identity is being forced upon you to create a further division from between you and everything around you. And this is being done at macrocosmic and microcosmic scales inside of your consciousness. And I'm going to show you how this is being done. You exist in consciousness. What you perceive as physicality is nothing but your perception of a natural act of existence taking place throughout of a different realm or a level of your own mind. And I'm going to show you all of that.
Of the Sinin is named King Lamsa, and his daughter is named Princess Lisana, and his son is named Prince Atif. One of the wretched group of beings which resides inside.
Now listen what she said.
Africa, there are a lot of these skulls that you find, and what
You're speaking of the elongated skulls that have been found in graves, and even some of the skeletons found with these are in fact giant people.
That is something different. No, I'm not talking about that. I am talking about a large skull.
The elongated skull, the elongated cranium.
Some are in Peru, some are elongated, but in other places they're just round like pumpkins. And the individuals that were seen in Egypt, I've seen drawings of what their skulls looked like. It was just massive, much larger than human being skulls. And also, you know, in a human skull, there's something they call the parietal, where it's in 3 different segments. This critter doesn't have those separations. It's just
so you're saying that this specific species of individuals is occupying the Vatican and functioning through the Jesuit order?
Yes, but they're also working in the banks in Portugal, because one of the people who saw this, you know, in Saturday Night Live, there was a broadcast of something called the cone heads. So that's a slang word for them.
I'm telling you, check me out. I'm just showing you this because I want to show you exactly what we got going on, man, because these people are just mathematicians, and what you would consider as your world powers, your world governments and shit like this, they're being controlled by a smaller group of secret societies and brotherhoods that are interacting with these beings and keeping this from the people, because they're controlling every thing. Now, they gave you all of your bullshit religions. They gave you your entire working class bullshit story. They gave you all of this bullshit food to put inside of your body. They gave you all of this bullshit education. They gave you all of this to make you externalize your perception of the reality and seek to try to familiarize yourself with the reality externally versus internally, where you are actually find the divine you in charge of this ship. And damn it, that shit's over, I promise. So now, let's go. Hold on. I got more. I got more. I got more.
But let me get back to those amazing finds of Bren and take a closer look at the DNA results that leads us to the Eurasian continent and the land that was once Tartaria. Not only did he find a direct...
Nobody has really ever heard of Tartaria, have you? It's like this is just some mysterious place that nobody is like the land before time, or the mysterious magical place that never existed but that does exist, that somehow these beings in your government and the people that have been actually functioning and interacting with these beings for thousands of years have been trying to erase from the history books or from the very fabric of history itself.
Connection in this area of the world across the oceans to South America, but recent finds within Eurasia seem to confirm his DNA results. The images you are now seeing is of a young boy found in Crimea in 2016. And
now y'all remember all that shit that just happened between America and Russia, battling over who was going to get into Ukraine. Oh, that's Crimea, baby.
Again, there are those who would instantly claim this to be a traditional form of cranial deformation, a deliberate practice for certain tribes, or as they're known as head binding. And this, my friends, is the problem we have to deal with, because there are genuine documented cases of a few tribes displaying this evidence. So there is a slice of truth in which makes it harder to filter out the facts. But as I mentioned previously, we now live in an age where we can compare many different aspects and sources and not be confined to the old system.
Check this out, man. Like, and the reason I'm giving you it because I want y'all to see this, man, that we can stop all of the arguing and pointing, and like we can stop trying to find reasons to divide ourselves and argue, man. Like we need to stop trying to build our audience based off of negative energy. We need to stop trying to build an audience based off of racism, separatism, division, and lies. We need to start realizing what some of the greatest minds that have come through this planet inside of different timelines have known and brought forth, like Tesla. Like, just understand, when they talking to you about this Babylon, and they're saying that these beings were trying to build this tower, what they were trying to show you is even like the Elohim that they were talking about, right? These were not the Elohim that the original, like the real Elohim that they're discussing. These were the Anunnaki hybrid beings, like the Thoughts, the Inkies, the Enlils, all of them. It's not that Inky is the one and Enlil is the bad one. No, all of them, all of them. They all came with the same bullshit. And it's time for us to stop this shit. Everybody naming, like, we ain't got to be naming ourselves after all of these people. And I'm not knocking nobody that did. So I know a lot of people going to have a lot of shit to say because you got to name after some of these people now all of a sudden. But that's cool. I'm not going to do no arguing, bitching, and bickering with nobody, beefing back and forth over no video. I'm an up close and personal type of dude. We can have all conversations face to face. That's how we go. So anyway, let's do this. I just want this information to get out there to my people so that we can stop and we can start building and designing now what we need in order to get ourselves into a nice enough position to make this ascension. I love y'all, Joe, and this is the reason I'm doing it.
Of compartmentalization of our education. So what if some tribes practice this type of cultural deformation? That does not follow that all cranial anomalies, as they are put here, are of the same roots, and it does not follow that all skulls are shaped by this way of head binding. And it's only an anomaly if your only point of view, Homo sapien, and the linear point of view of Darwin's theory of evolution. And as I've pointed out earlier, it's only a theory, and I fully suspect that there are more than one set of intelligent beings that frequent this planet, even to this day.
Hey, and I'm coming for, hey, listen, when I say I'm coming for the throne, I don't mean I'm challenging my people that's bringing this truth information. Like, all my kings and queens, we bringing this real information that's true. Nah, ain't no competition, man. We are not in competition. These people got us in competition. And I don't care. Like, when I see this shit, it burns me inside. Because you brothers and you sisters act like y'all know and really ain't got a clue. And that's the part that burns me, man. So now, here it goes, bro. This ain't even all of it. So it ain't like this everything that's just gonna make you open your eyes and see everything. But what I'm saying is, this will give you the ability to be willing to put down what you already have. Because if your hands are full and you got too much junk in your hand, how you gonna pick up some of these jewels? You can't. Check this out, man.
Quasar right now, literally, how did you describe that, Joseph? Like an exploding solar system almost?
What's the entire galaxy becoming a star? Something the size of a galaxy that becomes a star is what they figured out quasars are.
Okay, and we're also going to talk about Antarctica and what is going on out there right now. Now, Joseph just disclosed some information with me about how there is a civilization, literally multiple civilizations that literally flash flooded in, or not flash flooded, like flash froze.
Okay, now check this out. You hear what he just said? Civilizations, multiple civilizations that flash froze. Now, just trust me. Stay with me, baby, because I'm going to show you how to put everything back together that these people took apart in their head. You see what I'm saying? This is all the information that got us arguing and fighting.
In Antarctica. So this is very deep. We're going to talk about some Planet X / Exodus / the flood, NASA, and these 7 planets that have been discovered, and just a collection of things all combined into one. So it's a real honor to speak with you, Joseph. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, thanks. I thought I'd start talking again only because of the resurrection and Easter coming up. So I wanted to link how Planet X seems to be part of all that.
Fantastic. And also, I mean, you know, I know that you have done very few interviews over the past few years, and it's neat that you're kind of jumping out and getting your feet wet again.
Thanks. There was a time there where the information I was finding, I did not want to go on the air and say something I shouldn't be saying. It was really bad, what I was discovering.
Well, let's get into it. What's going on? First, let's get into Antarctica if we can.
Well, apparently, Secretary of State Kerry was sent down there. I believe Obama's gone down there. I know the Pope has gone down there. Several states, leaders of state have gone down there. And it's supposed to be to get them ready for what's about to happen, a sort of disclosure.
Hey, and this is what I be trying to explain to y'all, like, you know, and I know black folks, man, you know, like it's been a long time coming. We needed us a martyr. We needed us some type of a hero, some type of a come and save the day type of looking motherfucker. And the reason that came out sounded kind of crazy because I really didn't want to say that word specifically. But, you know, and Obama just served that purpose. But you got to understand that, man, Obama is no more different than the rest of them. Obama, Donald Trump, George Bush, I don't care, all of them, on their mother's sides, every one of them are all related. They're all cousins. Obama admitted it. Bush admitted it. Like, they're not hiding that stuff. They're family. You have to be their family. You're in the family to even get inside of this role, man. Like, y'all don't understand. This is a family tree thing they got going on. What we are part of. We're not a part of human organization anymore, or some type of human planetary structure. We're a part of a system, a matrix system, or a sub-matrix system that has been replicated off of the original template and brought down to Earth. So you see, this is how they're doing it. Bringing down the stars, baby.
Disclosure, except from what I'm hearing, they don't want disclosure. They're removing the bodies of what's called the pre-Adamites. Pre-Adamites were the species built before us, genetically engineered before us. They have a much longer skull. Sometimes the skull goes straight back, kind of like Nefertiti, and other times it flattens out, kind of widens to the back, much like the Greys type of skull. And they're taller, and they have a funny body because they have a longer or more vertebrae in their backbone, so it's kind of long. And then they got the little pot belly. The way Akhenaten is portrayed in the images from Egypt, they have those type of bodies, almost a feminine-like body, flat chest, very little muscles for the masculine, and large hips, this little pot belly, and a much longer torso with an elongated skull. So those were called the pre-Adamites. They were far more intelligent, and it became troublesome, so they went to the newer version, which is us. We have shorter lifespans and limited capacity for memory. We're sort of wiped when we're born. We don't have access to those memories. And then we also don't have telepathics. So we're the second species that followed. And much of that is in a lot of the writings of the Hebrew. Not everything that was in the Hebrew writings were put into the Bible. They had to decide what was going to go in and what was going to stay out. And this one they decided to leave out because it was just too troublesome. And they went with the creation of Adam and Eve and left the other one out altogether. So that's what they're finding down there. Now, this civilization is supposed to have been flash frozen. And I know we've spoken before about the possibility that Earth is not that old, only 12,000 years old, because of the galactic battle that took place between the reptilians and the Anunnaki. If that were the case, then Earth would have broken away, much of its atmosphere would have been gone. It would just be basically what would have been an island on that particular planet the size of Saturn. Would have become a sphere, and then would have tried to, I guess, regrow life on it. It would have kept some of its atmosphere, but would have lost a lot of the oxygen. We used to have 50% oxygen in the snow core. They find that before 12,000 years, we had 50% oxygen. After that, it's down to 20%, 19%, somewhere in there. But to flash freeze these beings, there's also giants down there and dinosaurs that were flash frozen. The mastodons, I understand, are 3 times the size of an elephant, and they were flash frozen. And to flash freeze, a pole shift would not do that. Pole shift would change. You'd have time to go grab a coat. You don't have time for that when you're flash frozen. You're basically mid-stride, completely stopped. All your blood vessels freeze, everything freezes. It's way too fast. And from what I understand, they're removing these bodies. They've been down there for over 12 years, filming, removing, very sophisticated technology. And they're eventually going to have some sort of tour down there, I guess you can take, and walk through these ruins. From what David Wilcock and several others have as well, there were 3 spaceships that crash landed there. Again, it was 12,000 years ago, right at the time of that galactic battle. And they speculate that these individuals landed there because there was already an ancient civilization there, dating back millions of years. And of course, that would have been Tiamat, part of Tiamat at the time.
So a lot of y'all, I know, see a lot of information being missing, but this is why I say that we going far, bro, I promise. All you gotta do is stay with me and rock with me, that from here, I'm breaking everything down and I'm expanding all of this information and pushing it throughout the ethers, man, I promise. Because I want y'all to understand what took place with Tiamat, how Tiamat, which was the original planet, right? The 7D planet that exploded, right, on that timeline. And then you had the 5D planet Terra, which actually, trust me, hey, man, we finna go into all of this, I promise, man. So y'all to get a better understanding and know how to put this together. And this is the reason I'm saying this, is because everything that we're experiencing right now in the reality, we're experiencing it because somebody else is controlling the entire collective projection. And they're controlling the direction in which we are consciously going by controlling all of the information and the distribution of technology, energy, right? Control the information, control the behavior. And if you can control the thoughts, you can control the mind, then you can actually control the soul.
So they landed there. The ships couldn't get back off of Earth, so they started, I guess, building cities around there. Again, this would have had to have Tiamat, not Earth, because once Earth took place, these guys were flash frozen in position. They know that there's the tropical jungle down there, I believe 65,000 square miles. That was all flash frozen. So Antarctica was at one time a tropical location, and it was flash frozen very quickly. Plato puts it right at about the same time, 9,000 years before him. And he said it all happened in one day. So if the explosion occurred within a day, Earth would have sort of corrected itself and started trying to heal. But anything along the periphery where the atmosphere was completely ripped off would have been flash frozen. And
now can I jump in real quick to just confirm a couple things? Because this is very interesting. And first of all, what would cause the flash freezing? And you said we're kind of the 2.0 version, because the first beings, or not the first beings, but the ones with the elongated skulls like Akhenaten, essentially, they had longer lifespans, and it sounds like they had more intuition. But why were they a problem? And are you referring to the Anunnaki creating us and creating them essentially in these physical meat sacks?
Yeah, pretty much. But you have to also throw in the reptilians, because the reptilians needed more warrior-like individuals. And if you take a look at these guys, they're not warrior material. So they would have modified us. And we came afterwards, and then the Anunnaki took what the reptilians had modified and tried to sort of bring it back in line with what they were. And that's why we ended up the way we've ended up. Very warlike, sex maniacs that have short lifespans and become very aggressive at sometimes. It's sort of hardwired into our nature.
So essentially our beings have been tampered with from multiple off-world beings.
Yes, and every single one of these groups that I hear that are trying to do, I guess, make contracts with the humans on Earth, they have to go through all these other species that already have, I guess, programs, they call them, on Earth, where they've been abducting people and trying to get them to meet someone else, sort of prearrange it so that they'd be attracted to individuals. They're looking for a genetic breeding sort of system. You've heard of those where the Greys were abducting women and creating a hybrid species.
Oh, yeah.
With
absolutely.
some of their cells. Yeah, that was really fascinating. These women would be like 3 months pregnant, and all of a sudden they wouldn't be pregnant at all. And they go to the doctor didn't want to hear anything about it. So they didn't have anyone to turn to. But those things they're creating are not human. And you can't take a child, especially something that's predominantly genetically human, and just keep it in isolation. Don't hold it, just leave it in a corner to develop on its own. It's going to have psychological damage, and it's probably not going to live past the age of 14. Humans have to be interacted with, they have to be held. You have to play with them, or they don't develop properly. So that seems to be a big problem for them. And then once they're down here, they don't know they don't have any common sense. I mean, I've seen people with no common sense that were very, very intelligent. But these people, they just do not know how to blend in. And I don't know that they ever will. Supposedly that's what they were trying to do.
That sounds like Dr. Jacob's work. He says that a lot of the people that he regresses that have been abducted, they're trying to get them to show them how to walk across the street properly and how to act when you go in the kitchen and just normal stuff, like he basically said, common sense.
How to set up furniture in your bedroom, yeah. That sort of stuff. I don't know why they're trying to do it, because it serves no purpose. If they're that intelligent, just leave them on the ships, train them to operate your ships. You know, it doesn't make any sense to bring them to Earth. The only thing I could see why they would want to bring them to Earth is because of what people are calling the Ascension, or what is believed to be the Ascension. When that happens, they would want them to be on Earth, hoping.
What about like Manchurian candidates? Sorry to interrupt, but that's what was coming to my mind.
No, I don't think they'd be Manchurian candidates. They're not. They have the ability to make you do things telepathically. They can control you. They can make you wake up, get dressed, go get your car, and drive out into the road where they're waiting for you.
All right, now did you just hear what he said, man? Now he explaining this shit, brother. Like, don't think for 1 minute that these people are not using all of this different nanotechnology and geoengineering for no reason at all. You see what I mean? So I'm just gonna just give you that again. I want you to hear that again, so you will hear what he explained. I'm sorry.
No, I don't think they'd be Manchurian candidates. They're not. They have the ability to make you do things telepathically. They can control you. They can make you wake up, get dressed, go get your car, and drive out into the road where they're waiting for you. From the people that they've already, like, let's say it's their parent, one of the people that they took cells from, created them. I've heard of that. They don't like that control at all. When they're at a job, like they try and fit in and get a job somewhere, they don't really work very well. So they have to, let's say they go to a restaurant, they have to control the person giving them the food and make it look like they got paid when they didn't, but that person ends up getting fired. And just little things like that. It's something they can't keep up. These things, the grays, there's two types of them. The work I did trying to figure out what these were, the ones I was dealing with, during Eisenhower's meeting in the desert, there was a priest who was at the location, and he was told to keep quiet, but he didn't. He went to the Vatican and told them what had happened. There were several species meeting with the president and several other individuals, and they wanted us to disarm, and they would assist us in what's about to happen so we'd be ready for the ascension. The others, the Greys, offered weapons and technology in exchange for abducting humans. They went with those guys. What was fascinating about them, though, was when they were abducting individuals, the military...
You hear that, right? Now, listen, this is not the first time I heard of this story, right? I even got, it's a book. I even got it uploaded into my computer. Listen, it's a book, man, of a guy who actually, you know what I'm saying? If I'm not mistaken, I forgot what planet, what star system he actually came here from. He came here with some information. And he was working with the CIA, he was working with the government, and they was trying to give this government information on how to actually, build a stronger and more stern or much more working, a much better working ecosystem. And the government did not want that information. They wanted information on weaponry and weaponry technology. And you see why your government is always over the news spreading fear tactics every day, nonstop. Why? Because as many people as they can keep inside of a state of fear, then they'll be able to use that as a reason of why they come with so much different types of security and different security laws and breaches into your constitutional or human rights. So whether you know it or not, they're playing both ends. They're playing like the victim and they're playing the phantom and the opera at the same time. It's like they'll set the stage and come in and pretend to save the day. Like whether you know it or not, half of these shootings and bombings, and why do you think so many different whistleblowers that come out into the mainstream media show you how the American government, your government, is the one that has something to do with all of this shit taking place? All the way back, I'm talking about way, way back. Even the Freeway Rick Ross story. If you study the editor or whatever he was, man, the guy that actually cracked all of that shit open, man, like study Studied the guy. They told him, like, man, it was the United States government that gave us weapons in exchange for trafficking a lot of high qualities of cocaine into the black communities. You see what I'm saying? So, like, you studied a story with, the dude, the Frank Lucas with a high Denzel got out. Man, listen, brother, these people always had their hands inside of the cusp of everything. Then you just be thinking that everything is taking place. No, they're behind the scenes puppeteering, like in the Wizard of Oz, right? You got the Oz, the wizard, he's projecting himself onto this big ass screen. Meanwhile, he's got everybody paying attention to what's going on the screen, but you got the little dog in the corner over here trying to show everybody what's taking place behind the curtain. But the wizard is on the screen trying to make you not pay attention to nothing that's going on behind the curtain, because if you look and see what's taking place behind the curtain, then you will see that it's just this wizard, and that he's the one actually controlling the perceptions and the ability of people to actually perceive and interact with reality. This is how they're actually controlling the reality today. They're projecting the way they want you to perceive life or the reality onto TV. And when you sit there and let your child, or you sit there and do it too, and you start to absorb all of this information that you're experiencing by interacting with this TV show or this movie, you start to emulate and idolize and iconize, or however you say the word, iconize, however, I'm sorry, these people that you are observing. But whether you know it or not, they're using these people as aspects to show you what the definition of the highest realms or states of existence in this reality is, just based upon that intellectual presence of your imagination. Because you got billionaires, all of that type of stuff. And you see that they show inside of like black music. They show you all of the black artists doing some of the most mundane and ignorant things, because these are the things that our children will start to emulate now. They'll start to dye their hair and dread it up and dye it. And I'm not, hey, listen, I'm just saying, they'll start to wear the skinny jeans to try to be accepted by society and to fit in. They'll start to emulate and mimic some of what you would consider as the homosexual activity. And I'm not bashing homosexuals. What I'm saying is that everything is for a reason. Everything is happening for a reason, no matter what it is. So don't ever think that there is something taking place, or that something was messed up or mixed up, or no, everything is taking place. And a lot of it has to do with these chemicals and things that you call ingredients that are stimulating different faculties and different systems and meridians, areas and channels of the brain, of the body, especially of the spine. But I'm just going back into, and then they get to showing you like inside of black, like for instance, when they tell you like, inside of our black TV shows, well, black people don't go to no doctor. And now you got a lot of black people that really don't go to doctors, but we don't eat healthy either. So it's like, it's the double standard. You have to understand the types of games that these people are playing with us inside of the reality. And that's the reason I'm showing all of this inside of this script, so that we can come together, and that together somebody will see the importance of what I'm showing you today and understand the type of potential that we have as a collective with all of this information if we come together.
They ordered them to only abduct 400 per year, and they needed the names and dates of the locations and addresses of these people. What the Greys said, these particular type of Greys, they said that they were.
So y'all don't understand why we're coming up with so many different people being abducted. And I'm telling you, man, this stuff, bro, when you break, I'm telling you, man, we gotta be willing to unlearn everything to relearn just something.
From Earth. They said they were from the future, and they said they were horribly damaged by the radiation. Something bad had happened. They had gone underground into underground bunkers, and they thought they would survive. But what happened was females could not reproduce after 45 days underground. And then they had to use their cloning technology. that sounds pretty far-fetched, but I've seen cloning technology is very real.
And for y'all that don't understand how real this cloning technology is, man, listen, I know a lot of y'all see that they even been online broadcasting that they selling these things called sleeves. And this is where you can actually, before you die for about $1 million, $2 million, you can buy a sleeve, upload your consciousness, upload literally the consciousness of your being into a disk or onto a disk, a hard drive, and download it onto a hard drive and upload it into this sleeve and live out the rest of your life inside of this this thing. And if you don't think that that's serious, listen. It's called the Russian 2045 Project. If you don't look, they have already uploaded the consciousness, the brain, the psychological memory of a mouse into a computer. Not of a mouse, of a monkey, into a computer. This monkey is inside of this computer living as if it was actually still existing inside of any other plane. It doesn't exist here anymore. It's dead in this reality, but it still exists consciously inside of the reality that it lives in. And to be honest with you, it still eats bananas, uses the bathroom, all of these different things inside of this artificial reality that has been placed for it, which goes into more evidence of us trying to gain a better understanding of what type of reality are we living in? What is a quantum reality? What is a holographic reality? What are parallel realities? What are different levels and time frames? So when we start breaking this information down, we'll get a better understanding as a collective what we have to understand if we're actually being projected from a different dimension into these lower dimensions or lower harmonic universes at different irrational angles that are creating these different spaces or caverns for consciousness or consciousness to exist. Because in order for consciousness to exist, all you have to do is slow down an electromagnetic frequency or an electromagnetic field to a point that allows consciousness, which is an observer, to envelop. You see what I'm saying? We're moving at such a slow or dense vibratory scale that there now is an ability for the observer to witness at a slower pace the reality that is projecting and experiencing ordinarily at sonic scales. It's kind of like that movie. What is it? The Avengers, when Superman, I think he had Wonder Woman in the air by her throat, and the Flash was like inside of real time, he was speeding up to him real fast, like he was going to try to knock his ass out or knock him out. I'm sorry, excuse my language, but it's like they show Superman slow it all down, and he's seen it in real slow motion. But it shows you that these are the different time frames of parallel forms of reality that exist inside of our own consciousness. And I'm trying to show you that because you are only perceptive to the existence of this one perceived state, it strips you and rips you off of your experience of being able to experience life in this multiple parallel extra-dimensional reality. Now finish this.
Anyway, these guys had it at that time, and that was the only way they could survive, by cloning themselves over and over and over. They were trapped underground during the earthquakes that took place, and this would be somewhere about what we would call the apocalypse time frame. Anyway, they finally got out of there, and when they got to the surface, they were horribly damaged by the radiation. The military jumped to the conclusion it was some sort of ICBM war with other countries here on the planet. I immediately suspected the power plants, because if we lose power or one of those gets damaged, they start releasing a tremendous amount of radiation. They have a lot of fuel rods that will burn for a long, long time. And that will cause a huge cloud of radiation that will pretty much poison anything gets anywhere near it. There's 120 on the East Coast alone. So you've got a tremendous amount of of death, and just waiting there for people. Anyway, these guys said that their DNA was horribly damaged, that some other extraterrestrials came by, found them, and took them to their worlds. And so when these grays, when you see them, smooth kin with the almond-shaped eyes, those are actually an outer suit that they wear. And some movies have brought this out, some documentaries.
But when he's telling you now about like this DNA and this, like I'm telling you, hey, if you study the Earth's like the grids, nodes, and ley lines and stuff like this, man, you'll see that the Earth has portals. And each of these portals are literally entry points to different streams or different fields of consciousness. And each of these different fields of consciousness, it exists, it's real inside of the different species or different life forms. Or like that you see here, like for instance, the different, like you had the Christos or Sophia consciousness. Like you had the okay, I'm gonna go just real fast. The Nephilim. Just to give you a little bit of information on the Nephilim, right? Now, the Nephilim wars were 75,000 years ago. The Anunnaki breeding program, second seeding attempt of Nephilim, rejected by Elohim, Melchizedek and Anu DNA fracture, 666 sealed as a quarantine in the solar system. Now, during the end of the second seeding, the Anunnaki started breeding with humans, and a race called Nephilim was created. This was not agreed upon to genetically tamper with the human race, and the Elohim would not let this race walk on or be on the earth. This created a conflict and another war broke out. This created the war with the Anunnaki and the other Anunnaki sympathizers, such as the Drakks, which are the Draconians, and the Syrian Anunnaki hybrids. Now, the Nephilim wars ended this seeding attempt and was reorganized for the next evolutionary round, where the Luciferian rebellion occurred in the Atlantean Cataclysm timelines. Now, Syrians from Sirius B hosted this seeding of human race. The Eye of Horus, a stellar bridge used to bring in consciousness to incarnate in the four-dimensional planetary gates in Giza, Egypt. Now, root races 3 through 5 attempted to seed onto the earth. Melchizedek race families came in to help to repair genetic digression around this time, approximately 35,000 years ago. Violations by the incarnated Melchizedeks using earth portals incorrectly around the Egyptian dynastic timeline unleashed a lot of dark energies into the earth's surface. A major damage was created in the 2D layers by Akhenaten inadvertently. This was not proposed by the Melchizedeks, as it was a part of their intended plan to integrate the Anu template from the damaged DNA in the planetary fields that had resulted from the Atlantean explosions of the grids during the previous root race seeding. Unfortunately, there were some miscalculations and other genetic issues that raised a serious breach of planetary Templar security. The Templar is the Stargate portal system of the Earth that opens into the 12th dimension or the 12-dimensional levels of the universal time matrix. And I'll get into all of that at another time. This is desired by the reptilians because they're human representatives that are bred as Nephilim, genetic hybrid between the Orphan and reptilians, are easy to possess and mind control for their negative alien agendas. The reptilians do not want to heal, thereby integrate into human society as an equal. They want to rule it as an absolute authority and archontic deception behavior enforced by the false kings of tyranny. And I'll show you where they get all of this Eye of Horus, Eye of Yahweh, Eye of Jehovah, all of this stuff. It's all the same crap. It's all Saturnalian. But I want to just go into something else, man. I know we
Map 1652. everything in yellow was under Tartarian control.
Tartarian control.
1652, people. After that, no one knows what happens. Was it a reset? Did the Tartarian Empire get too big? Who knows?
Recently, you have probably heard me talking quite a bit about history, quite a bit about the lost nation of Tartaria, a nation that existed in Europe that nobody seems to know about. It's a nation that's been expunged, and yet it still exists on many maps. Well, it still exists on many old maps anyway. It doesn't exist on too many new maps, but you can still find it on old maps if you search for it, and it does appear to be quite a well-known and well-established nation. Of course, any academic sources that you question about this nation, they will simply tell you it was an area of land, it was never actually a nation, and yet, as I've also pointed out previously, we can find flags of this nation. And if it was just an area and not a nation, then it wouldn't have a flag. So it was in fact a nation and not simply an area of land, and there's every indication that it had also spread out to become a worldwide civilization. This is very much suggested by the similar architecture in so many countries around the world, very old architecture, which is all very much the same. And this is what is termed Greco-Roman architecture. But one would ask, why would every country around the world be building their government buildings using the same architecture? You find this everywhere. You find it all through the Americas, you find it through South America, you find it even in Japan and Australia. So why would they be using the same style? That's the question. And even not just the architecture, but the symbolism, the motifs, the designs, even the clothing, the styles of clothing that people wear, these are all very similar all around the world. They may not seem that way when you first look at them on the surface. When you really analyse things, you find that they all have a common root, which very much suggests that all of these nations, all of these cultures were all connected. And no matter how you look at it, this is very much what is indicated, ladies and gentlemen, and also through the discovery of a worldwide language, which was Magyar, or the root language of Hungarian, which was spoken by the Incas, by the Polynesians, and also by all the Australian Aboriginals, and many cultures all around the world seem to have spoken this language. Polynesians, Melanesians, all of the island cultures seem to have spoken it. In fact, Magyar seems to have been so common around the world that one might question if one were to apply Magyar translations to some of the lost languages that we still can't figure out, such as the Rondo and things like this. Perhaps we could find that there is a way of translating them if we use Magyar. Who knows? It's just a thought. And something else you've heard me talking about a great deal is the evidence suggesting a worldwide mud flood that happened as recently as 150 to 200 years ago. As I've mentioned before, there's a Russian channel run by a man called Philip Druzinin who is covering this quite extensively, and I do recommend you go and look at the research that he's done on this, because it is quite compelling. And you'll find that there is evidence of this mud flood that exists everywhere. I mean, it did happen, folks, and it was a physical flood, but it was...
Now, hey, you can go to Secret Energy, and I will put the link here. It will be in here, I promise you. Secret Energy, man, my brother Savan Bomar. Y'all can check him out too. He got a lot of videos, man. The Key to the Matrix, all of that. Like, you got to go and check him out. Savan Bomar, Sevan Bomar. Check him out. Secret Energy. In fact, you can jump in, join us, become an ambassador, enroll in the university program. Let's go right now so you can get this information popping. Anyway, he's got an entire, oh my God, as far as this with the mud flood, go to Secret Energy.
It's not water, and it was an event that covered virtually the entire world. We can find evidence of this flood across Europe, across the Americas, even here in Australia. And evidence of this flood appears as buildings that have a sub-level, a level below ground, And also, as many of the buildings that look like they were carved into rock faces, look like they were carved into cliffs, there's a very real possibility that they weren't carved into the cliffs, but simply the cliffs flowed over them, or perhaps the cliffs even became molten around them. But however it happened and however it manifested, suffice to say there is a good deal of evidence to indicate that the mud flood is a very, very genuine event, and it's very likely that it occurred in the mid to late 1840s. And there's a lot of people who've been putting a lot of research in.
Hey, and real fast, I want to say, man, listen, this made me think of something real quick, man. Like, do y'all remember like the Flintstones and all of that stuff, right? They made us think of that stuff as like some, like ain't like, that was the old, like they was real out of touch and out of connection with reality or something because of the way that they like, they lived and this, that, and the other, like the Stone Age. But man, whether you know it or not, those people lived in a much, much grander type of societal environment than we actually do. You see the type of energy that flow through our environments, man. The negative energy is being sprayed into our reality via these different satellites and nanotechnologies and different things. Like, bro, we need to start taking back control of this. And all I wanted to say, this is what I was going to show you, that back then, man, our ancestors didn't need things like TVs and microwaves and plates and forks and spoons. And it's like, imagine walking outside and everything that you ever needed to actually eat or use to sustain yourself is it's in abundance everywhere around you. And it's on the trees, it's in the grass, it's just everywhere. Like, there was no reason to have to house or harbor or bring food inside. Like, there was no reason to live inside, but to shelter themselves, like, you know what I'm saying, throughout the times. It's like, what I did discover something too is that the ancestors, they used to grow stones. You might think, how do you grow stones? Yes, the ancestors are inside of the rocks and all of that, because that too is a sentient life force. The ancestors grew stones to shape and fashion houses out of them, because those houses would last and be able to actually extend throughout thousands of years versus the type of structures we're using now that were put into place by some of these beings that are, I'm gonna just say this, they're used as different ways to control us, because we have to continuously destroy and erect civilizations and realities. And this is how these people are controlling it all. They know how to manipulate the weather and manipulate the frequency by having access to the grid to know the points and portals of the planet. And they know how to actually use these different frequencies to send sound waves and earthquakes and hurricanes and tornadoes and rain, floods, and all of this stuff everywhere. They know how to do all of this. So they're constantly resetting civilizations. And you wonder how inside of one space or place on the planet, you will have a multitude of people that looked different. Because even inside of this mud flood, you see that they were taking babies, making parents and stuff put their children up for adoption, and they were broadcasting these adoptions as if they were like some type of pet adoptions, to where, man, you get 90-day trials to have these children for, like, just, I'm telling you, like, they were going, just taking children from this state or country to this side, putting them all the way over here. It's like they were uplifting and repopulating and uprooting. Why? Because it controls the flow of information. I promise you, bro. Like, you got to understand, all of this stuff is just it's mathematical. They're using mathematics. We're using emotional. It's easy for them to do this stuff because they're not emotional creatures. They're all math, and they're exchanging their mathematical technologies with the people we believe in to do business for us and on our best interests, but that have hijacked not only the reality, but our imagination too.
Into this, and a lot of information is being uncovered about what has truly happened in the past. And our history appears to be very, very different to what the mainstream has taught us, to what we've learned in academic institutions, what we learned in schools. In fact, none of what we are taught in schools of what our history is backed up by physical evidence. All the physical evidence says something quite different. And there may be some people that would debate that. They'd say, well, no, we've got a lot of physical evidence to support the official timeline. But really, when you look at the physical evidence, you can construct any story you want to make it sort of fit with the evidence. But you have to leave a great deal of it out, which is why there's so many great mysteries and anomalous objects and all the names they think up for all the things they can't explain. You know, and ultimately, folks, if there's one artifact that is out of place, then the official version is wrong. And there are literally hundreds of artifacts that are out of place if the official version is to be believed at all. And again, these are all sort of listed as anomalous objects and great mysteries and all shrouded in secrecy and presented as something that we just don't know how they did it. But really, if you can face the very real possibility that they don't fit because the timeline and the history that we're given is completely wrong, then you begin to see a little bit of the bigger picture. And it is wrong, folks. Our history is wrong. I have no qualms in saying that. It's completely wrong. Most of it has been completely fabricated, and I would suggest that it's been done absolutely deliberately for a very specific reason. The question is, how did they do it? How did they erase history so effectively? And what really happened? Well, what evidence suggests really happened is, as I said, this mud flood. There was a flood that's gone across the entire world. And the mud flood, because it is mud, it's not water, it appears to have come from the land itself. The question is, how did that occur? Was it a natural occurrence, or was it simply done by somebody or something? And the other question is, of course, why can no one remember this? How has it been so effectively expunged from human memory and expunged from our history? But as I've said before, how long would it take to change history and hide history? And effectively it would take 3 generations, but you could actually do it in one if you were to remove the older people, well, most of the...
So now you see why, man. Just like I'm just showing you this, man, because, man, listen, family, it's time, man. Like, we've been going through this for too long. We done stood by and watched too many of the people that we love go through this and suffer from this, man. It's time.
Older people anyway, a high percentage of the population, just wipe them out and simply replace them with children. The children wouldn't know what history was, especially if they were children that have just been put in place after some sort of a cataclysm like a mud flood.
See what we going through? Do this sound like it's similar to what we experiencing or not?
And these children would believe any history that they were taught.
The year was 16.
Any history. We'll believe in any history we're taught. Because on every side, gee, we fighting. And we all, like, we divided amongst race. We divided amongst language. We divided amongst religion. We divided inside of the communities amongst streets, avenues, strips, and gangs. We divided amongst signs. Like, just think, G.
1920. It was a normal day for me, sitting on the beach, getting some sun, minding my own business, when lo and behold, along comes this boat. And can you believe it? As big as I am, it bumps into me. Ow!
Who said that? I think it was the Rock. The Rock? Oh, whatever. Let's plant the flag, shall we? I do hereby name this place Plymouth. Very nice. And what about a name for the rock? I do hereby name this rock Plymouth Rock. Is that the only name you know? Sounds great to me. Let's go.
And so the pilgrims got off the boat and began the hard work of setting up a settlement in the new world.
Tartary, Latin Tartaria, or Great Tartary, Latin Tartaria Magna, was a name used from the Middle Ages until the 20th century to designate the great tract of northern and central Asia, stretching from the Caspian Sea and the Ural Mountains to the Pacific Ocean, inhabited mostly by Turkic people after the Mongol invasion. It incorporates the current areas of Pontic Caspian Steppe, Volga Urals, Caucasus, Siberia, Turkestan, Mongolia, and Manchuria. And I will read you one more quote. As the Russian Empire expanded eastward and more of Tartary became known to the Europeans, the term fell into disuse. Basically, that so-called historians are telling us that Tartaria is actually no country, but a name for land of nomad tribes that were known badly by cartographers until the 19th century. But in the 16th century, just few decades after the discovery of America, the same cartographer, they were able to map all of the main rivers of the jungle of South America, as I showed you in the previous part of this video. So, Tartaria was a name for undiscovered areas of the North and Central Asia. On the screen at this moment, we can observe a series of maps made by the cartographer Abraham Ortelius. And I will use again his works, because I already proved in the previous part that his maps are considered genuine and authentic by all of the historians. And as we can see on this particular work from 1592, Tartaria is actually pretty well mapped and known. There's all the rivers, forests, towns. Actually, to me, Finland, it looked much less discovered than Tartaria. I don't think that is so difficult to see that in the 16th century, those lands were pretty well known to the Western cartographer. The Encyclopedia Britannica, which is a very respected encyclopedia, was telling us about this unknown and undiscovered land of nomad tribes already in 1771. Keeping in mind that today historians are assuring us that Tartaria was not a country and has never been a country, so we don't need to study it at school.
So I'm just going to show you something, man. It's just letting you know, man. These people, listen, man, they crazy, man. We got to gain a better understanding of this shit, and we got to help each other gain a better understanding of this, man. We all we got.
Let's open medieval maps that were made by contemporary map makers. We see a very large country called Grand Tartaria, and it is not just a couple of maps. Practically all the respected cartographers of that time depict this large country. You can make yourself familiar with hundreds of medieval maps that depict Tartaria, and you can do it on this page. Link is provided in the description. All you need to do is click here, Skачать, and that will download this huge zip file with detailed maps. And although this vast country is all over the maps and all over the historic writings and documents of that time, it is not even mentioned in the mainstream history. Its name even doesn't exist in its timeline. Let's look further into this. Isn't it a bit strange that the biggest country in the more or less recent history of humanity is not even included in the history textbooks? Couple of thousand years ago, those who survived the cataclysms of Atlantis and Hyperborea, and not only the cataclysms but the subsequent heavy wars, decided to scatter around the world and mix with the relatively primitive tribes that were inhabiting it at that time and educate them. Initially, this educational mission encompassed regions like the Mediterranean, Egypt, and all these cultures that now we call Scythian, Sarmatian, Dacian, and Thracian. People at that time were not yet fenced up in strict borders of countries like us nowadays. But as the controlled demolition of morals and freedom and knowledge was advancing in a very rapid rate in the human society, people voluntarily agreed to be divided and further gradually lose their freedoms. As next step, the parasitic forces substituted the pious kings with their own people. They first managed to establish such parasitic governments in the area of Western Europe, while in the East, where the educational project of the survivors was more advanced and people were wiser and more educated, it would take them a few more centuries before the parasites would manage to lower the consciousness of people that much so that they would tolerate corrupted rulers who would be against their own people. After studying the new chronology, it really seems that what we now call the Eastern Roman Empire and Russia were one and the same country. More details were given in the earlier episode on religion. That is why Arabic inscriptions glorifying Allah were all over the weaponry and helmets of the Russian kings, while at the same time the Ottoman rulers were minting coins depicting themselves with the Christian crosses and other symbols that we consider nowadays Christian. Actually, those were times when the two religions were still closer to their source and were not separated as nowadays. And so was the empire of the survivors. It was still one. Actually, in the 15th and 16th century, the last descendants of the righteous Hyperborean rulers decided to use a military approach and took over Europe with force. After defeating the strongest countries in Europe, the rest more or less surrendered peacefully. You can find more information of this conquest of Europe and actually a few other continents on this page. It also contains abundant quotes from many authentic historic sources. I will make only 2 episodes on this topic, and they will not even touch all the main points or to speak of any details. In the episode about religion, we reviewed many Arabic or maybe Muslim to us looking artifacts all over Europe that don't fit the mainstream history of this region. One of those artifacts was the so-called Muslim crescent sign on the main cathedral in Vienna. Officially, Vienna was never conquered by Muslims, and officially the crescent is only Muslim sign, so it makes no sense. The stories that we are being told in school about this really don't fit the artifacts. These stories continue telling us how the Ottomans, supposedly the Turks, were holding Vienna under siege, attacking it. But if we look at the actual painting depicting, this is the settlement, the tents of those who were holding the siege. On the right side, there is a flag with Christian cross on it. So the Ottomans had flags with the Christian crosses along with the crescent flag next to it. On the left side is another old painting depicting this very same siege of Vienna. On the top we see the flag of the city. You can see those are proper buildings inside the city walls, and they have the crescent sign. And below that are the supposedly Ottomans coming out of their tents and attacking the city, and their flag has a Christian cross. Was there some military action? Was there a battle? Yes, there was. Who was fighting with whom? We don't even know, but it is not what they're telling us. And actually on this old drawing, we still see the times depicted when Christianity and Islam were one single faith. Now again, this is another old print, that's why the crescent on the top is not very clearly visible, but it is there. And that is another Christian temple. This one is from the German city of Trier. Another very old mural supposedly depicting a Muslim army. Very strange that they have Christian saints on their flags. These are a couple of old stamps and emblems from the time when the Empire of the Survivors was still one, and in the small circles are listed various nations that are under this supreme emperor that is the king of all kings. And these are the locations taken from the previous small circles and put on a map. Now this last conquest of the Empire of the Survivors, which by the way I see as a sign of a degradation and not as something good, because I accept no excuse for war. I think the right way is education, but anyway, I'm just registering the events as they happened. That's my task in this video, and not judging them. So this conquest wave spread, it reached even America. Nowadays in the popular media, Christopher Columbus is depicted as some sort of personal name, as some sort of person. They even give some details, but in reality even the mainstream historians, if one reads specialized books, even they admit that Christopher Columbus basically is kind of like translated Christian colonizer. Cristobal Colon or Christopher Colon. Nobody knows where did he come from, where did he die in descendants or anything. Actually, most likely when the history was being rewritten, the monks who were compiling the new stories, they thought it's inappropriate to tell the truth, and that's why they put it a kind of Western European sounding name to mask who was actually behind this wave of survivor expansion. But there are some old chronicles that Fomenko presents in great detail, and for those who are interested.
So real fast, I got one more, man, I need to bring to you real fast. Pardon me. No, it's probably an easier way to do this, but I ain't too computer savvy. I'm gonna get it done like this. Trust me. I could tell you anything about the universe, the consciousness, life form, like just anything, but when it comes to this computer, you whoop me. Got him.
Many
Hold on.
authentic histories.
Excuse me. I know y'all like, shit, I can tell he typing slow. Yeah, I'm one of them that, you know, I still use these two fingers. I'm just joking, but nah, you know, I don't type not too good. Okay, I'm just, hold on 1 second. Because it's a specific video I'm looking for, and I need y'all to see. It's gonna just, you know, help me complete this, that's all. I think I'm here.
Hi, Hi, this is Brian Forrester coming to you from Paracas in Peru. And I want to give you an update as to the recently released DNA results of the Paracas people. Now, it's taken us 5 years since we began this process to actually get the results. It took almost 3 years to get, or 2.5, to get permission from the Ministry of Culture of Peru, who we worked with very closely, especially with archaeologist Ruben Soto, in order to have the DNA testing approved by the government. A total of 18 skulls was tested, and results came back from 12. The DNA was so badly degraded after 2,000 to 3,000 years that of the 58 samples of 18 skulls, we got results from 12 of the skulls from 2 different laboratories, one in Canada, the Lakehead University, and another one at UCLA in California. A third lab was also utilized at Santa Cruz, University of California, but they stated that of the, I think, 18 samples they were given, no results were forthcoming. We're not sure if that's true or whether the results were so bizarre that they decided to hide them. So, in what I can basically tell you is that all Native American people of 100% Native ancestry are supposed to be and were of the haplogroups A, B, C, and D. So this is one of the Paracas elongated skulls. This is one that we believe is natural in shape. And as I turn it, you will see the complexity of design. See all that amazing curvature. And basically there's a depression here where the 2 hemispheres would be. The eye sockets are very large. And there's a lack of a sagittal suture here. So the results that we got, 4 of the elongated skulls were of haplogroup B, which relates to the fact that there was Native American ancestry involved, but the other ones were not. And the most common haplogroups that showed up were U2E and also H, H1A and H2. If you look at where the most prevalent percentage of U2E and the H1s are, it is in between the Black and Caspian Seas, as in the Caucasus Mountains. So that's very intriguing. What I can also share with you is what I believe was the migrational pattern, because these people, like some indigenous people of the Caspian area and Black Sea area, were and are dark red-haired and also skin and green eyes. And this seems to correspond as well with the elongated skulls. So I believe that was about 3,000 years ago. The ancestors of Paracas decided to leave the area because they were being invaded by someone. And so they traveled south through Iran to the Persian Gulf, and there they wound up sailing eastward and eventually found their way to the coast of Peru. Different routes they could have used. They could have gone through Hawaii, they also could have gone through New Zealand, but then they wound up at the largest natural bay on the coast of Peru, which is Paracas, and that's where they decided to live, because there was basically no one living there. They could live in peace, and that's where they developed their high cultures. This is only an initial release of information. There will be more, and there will be a book available probably by the end of February 2018, and also DVD, and these will be available through L.A. Marzulli at lamarzulli.net. That's for the moment. I'm going to do more of these kinds of spontaneous videos in the future because I can't constantly be traveling. It's driving me nuts, but I do have a lot of footage taken recently in Mexico. We were able to find examples of lost ancient technology, different places in Mexico, so stay tuned for us.
See what I mean? So, here we go. Back to the man behind the music. The reason that I'm actually doing this, man, is because, like I said, it just goes to show you that everybody's technically wrong. All of your history teachers that have spent all of these years yelling down and, looking down pointing down at you and looking down your throat, like, priding itself off of the information. And I said it, itself, because that's all you guys are, parasites when you do that type of stuff. We argue with each other. We fight with each other. We kill each other. We do all of this because of what? Because everybody thinks that they got the real information. Everybody thinks that they got the right information. When really everything is right and everything is wrong all at the same time. And if you understand that, then you will realize that the whole planet was doing good, bro. Like, why can't that just be something that's understood by everybody? We was all doing good. Wasn't nobody fucked up. Wasn't nobody doing bad, bro. We doing bad now because of the condition that we are in, because somebody else is controlling that. Well, we need to take control of that, man. Listen to me. And just to give you some more information to roll with, man, I just wanted to bring all of this together for you so that I can show you that, man, not only have throughout the history of time, we've been being manipulated, but we've been being manipulated by a group or a race of beings that have been coexisting right alongside of us, just outside of our comprehensive reach. And we see how. So now that we understand this and we see that we are not or have not been being co-creators that we were actually brought into this reality to be, we have actually been born into this reality as slaves for somebody else. Now it's just time for us to take control of the ship because somebody else has been using us as an economic currency. You see what I'm saying? Current means energy, meaning that you come through this reality with your soul force energy. Somebody, once you came into here, monetized you by giving you this birth certificate or birthing certificate, right? Where they gave you a certificate of live birth. But they took that birthing certificate, put your 2 feet prints on that motherfucker, put it up on the market for as a stock. You see what I mean? Now, we, going into showing the people, how to actually take back control or take back possession, you see what I'm saying, of your status as a private citizen. But this is just not done on a physical level. Because if you have any fear inside of you, then you can be challenged to any degree. If you are afraid, then there is no reason for you to even be trying to become a sovereign. You have to only be willing to make a decision to become a sovereign when you have superseded or you have already reached the pinnacle of where your fears lie. I've already been pushed beyond fear. They had a grip on me at one point in time in the reality. But see, they beat me beyond submissing point. Like, you can do a person so bad to where no longer do fear exist inside of their mind. And that's just where I'm at right now. Like, I don't have any of those type of fears. Like, the only type of fear that I really have would be of me. You see what I mean? I'm afraid of me, not afraid of nothing else anymore outside of me or the context of me. So this is the reason that I say, so many things. And, I get into conversation with people that they can't understand. And people think that I'm just like, I don't have the patience to deal with them. And it ain't that I don't have the patience to deal with you. It's just that I don't want to sit here for no hour, no 2-3 hours entertaining things or going through a whole rigmarole of conversation that's really irrelevant. That's not even relevant to what's really taking place. It's like I'm finna entertain the illusion just to explain to you now, that was all the illusion. Let's get to the real nitty gritty stuff now. And then I gotta show it to you. So it's like, no, we can stop all that. So this is where we at, man. And I wanna just give you a little bit of more information to roll with, man, before I go, because I know that I've actually taken up a lot of y'all time to give y'all a more introspective view on what's taking place in a reality, what your position of it is, and how you can actually start taking back your entire functioning power, right? Now, we live inside of this thing, it's called a universal matrix. Now, the universal matrix is comprised of 5 density levels that each hold 3-dimensional holographic fields within them, or groups of 3 spectrum of frequency that manifest as platforms of consciousness, perception, and expression. Each of these density levels are organized into a trinity of dimensional reality fields, and each of these reality fields are also called harmonic universes, or HU, H-U, right? And each harmonic universe, there are consciousness levels that are characteristics in a blueprint that result in the matter forms and consciousness perception that is unique to each harmonic universe or density. Now, each expression of the God source or its collective consciousness or life form has many stations of identity that exist in each of the dimensional realities or harmonic universes. Now, in the first harmonic universe, which is 1D, 2D, 3D, exists the 3 layers of the personality matrix or incarnated human. This station of identity is the personality matrix. In the second harmonic universe, you have the 4D, 5D, 6D, which exists the 3 layers of the soul matrix. These stations of identity make up the entire soul matrix. Now, in the third harmonic universe, which is 7D, 8D, and 9D, you have or exist the 3 layers of the monadic matrix. These stations of identity make up the entire monadic matrix. Now, in the fourth harmonic universe, you have 10D, 11D, and 12D. And there exists the three layers of the Christos avatar matrix. These stations of identity make up the entire avatar matrix. In the fifth harmonic universe, which is 13, 14, and 15 dimension, exist the layers or the three layers of the Rishi matrix or threefold founder flame. These stations of identity make up the entire Rishi matrix. Now, I'm breaking that down to you because hey, listen, man, I'm coming hard because the only reason I'm actually going to bring all this information forward to y'all is because, just check me out. All of this information is being able to extend itself and is reaching everywhere except inside of the inner parameters of the city or community streets where I'm from, right? Because no matter what, we're always communicating with different people. We're always on a different frequency or an octave, and we can also communicate at a different frequency or an octave, meaning that I can exist and communicate with beings at this upper realm or reality of consciousness, inside of those higher states or spaces of what exists. And I can communicate with the beings that come from some of the lowest harmonic frequencies. Why? Because I ventured that far down the rabbit hole. I speak their language. I communicate with them. Most people can't communicate with people that come from where I come from because you do not resonate harmonically or do not have a monotone that matches that frequency that we communicate. So when you hear people communicate and you're always willing to jump in and try to judge people and try to tell people who they is I ain't talking to correctly because it don't harmonically intertwine or interweave itself with the way you communicate to the people that you're communicating with, understand that you are just on a different octave. It don't mean that you're on a higher octave than the person you're ridiculing or judging. It just means you're on a different one. And the reason that you're jumping out there, ridiculing it and judging it is because you're not on a higher octave. You only think you are because of the resonance of the frequency that you're on. You think that it's on a higher frequency than that other person, and it's not. You think that information that you have is much more advanced or higher than that other person, and it's not. You see what I'm saying? But it's because we all caught up inside of our little words. And then I'm just saying it because I had a lot of people come to me with this shit. Like, hey man, you need to find a better way to deliver the message. In time, King, in time. Right now, I am where I am supposed to be to bring the message to who I need to bring it to inside of this specific space. But I can communicate with anybody. And it shows that I have a real outstanding vocabulary. I've read just a lot of books, man. Dictionaries, everything. I promise. Thesauruses, encyclopedias, atlases. I've read all of this. So I'm just giving it to you. Now, let me just give you a little bit more. The physical body and the fleshly form that the human beings inhabit in the mental realm is ultimately designed as the vehicle of expression for the multidimensional consciousness bodies that exist throughout the density levels. Density levels essentially define the location of the timeline where the aspect of the human being or life form is having a consciousness experience and is traveling within some kind of body. Most people are unable to sense their own higher consciousness aspects as a result of the negative alien agenda mind control programs that are actually functioning throughout the reality, right? This amnesiac barriers, these nets, these grids that have been reversing all of the energy. And I'll talk about all of that again. And these different implants, right? That were placed in a lower earth body to suppress the global consciousness. Yet, there are aspects of the higher self that exist within the light body layers that are enmeshed with the cells of the physical biology. And these are also called stations of identities. Through the manipulation of the mitochondrial functioning, which impairs the ATP production, this method works to suppress the embodiment of the stations of identity. The stations of identity refer to the anatomy of the spiritual layers of the original consciousness, blueprint, design of human beings. Okay, the original consciousness blueprint design of human beings, the light body, and what we refer to as the soul or the monadic and avatar consciousness. Now, each expression of the God source in its collective consciousness body or individual life form has many stations of identity that exist in each of the dimensional realities or harmonic universes. Now, to become unified with the God source, we must learn how to live live in harmony with the natural laws. As we live in harmony with the natural laws, we integrate, heal, and unify all of our spiritual expressions in time and have become stuck. In time that have become stuck, harmed, or traumatized by learning life lessons through the direct experiences we have that teach us how to evolve. Now, we cannot evolve if we cannot learn from our experiences. The learning process generally occurs with the explicit help of our higher spiritual identity that helps us to recollect our other aspects and the other fragments that have existed throughout the times and fields, or different timelines and time fields. Now, throughout each density, the various stations of identity are subjected to different laws that govern the structure of consciousness movement throughout time and space in that location. Now, these laws instruct characteristics that impact the stage of evolutionary development that manifest as platforms of consciousness, perception, and spiritual expression that are unique to each person's location in that time field and space field. Now, many physical vehicles can be seen or can seem to exist in a similar relative time and space and matter. Yet, the spiritual vehicles are existing within vastly different levels of the consciousness spectrum and within an entirely different dimensional timeline. The point of divergence within the consciousness spectrum is more exceptional during the current ascension phase of planet Earth. The visible light spectrum in the physical realm gives us an extremely limited perception of the energetic reality. As an example, the spectrum of reality that causes that a consciousness body located in the 5D timelines will perceive and express through their vehicle is completely different from, completely different by comparison to the vehicle with the consciousness body perception located in the AI timelines. AI means artificial intelligence for y'all that don't understand that. In each dimension of bodily form, the laws governing structures and potential energy changes, which alters the consciousness perception access level that is available to that specific life form. Now, I don't want to keep y'all. I'm just saying that we're going into a whole new space and a whole new time frame. So let's together right now. We don't have to do like, and I'm telling you, listen, man, we can like all of, the gangster, all of like, listen, bro, you can be all of that without actually trying to flex. It's the people that's trying to flex like they're gangsters that's really not gangsters. It's the people that's always on social media doing all of the fake flexing in the front. Those are the people that are really not real. They're not the truth. That's the reason they keep having to throw it in front of your face so that you will actually succumb to it because they're afraid that you might have forgot. And those people that keep throwing this shit into your face, why? Parasites. They need your energy. Stop feeding your energy to these parasitic entities that feel like shit until you push like on their picture. Because why? They will never push like on your picture. They only want you to push like on their picture so that they can go behind your back. And I'm going to say this, like I got people that I've been dissecting and I've been placing distances in between myself. And I'm going to say this. I got a friend that he really ain't got nothing going on. And this ain't no diss. Like my friend, hey, look, man, my man's know that this is the reason that we just fragmented ourselves. He ain't got nothing going on, but he want to send images back home to the people back home as if he's out here doing it, as if he's out here just rocking it. But he's really not. And it's like every video he posts online, he's in the video with counterfeit, and I mean literally counterfeit money. But he's stunting on rich people. Like brothers that I know from back home that really got that bag. And when we say that bag, for people that don't know, that means a lot of money. But, and he's comfortable with it. And it's like it never registers to him that you're really playing a role. These people are for real. They're beefing with people that's for real. And I say to myself, like, man, you get so caught up inside of those different personalities and perspectives that you forget you don't even know how to turn it off. You don't even know when to turn it off because you forgot that you're playing a role. And then, the type of person that lies so much about everything that they forget who they talking to, that they just start lying to you about something that you was there as if you wasn't there, but they just used to lying. So it just goes to show you what I'm trying to say is that, and the reason I ain't saying no name about my homies is because I don't really want to exploit him. I'm not worried about him knowing who I'm talking about. He ain't got to do nothing. I mean, trust me, I promise you, the type of person that be all over social media. It's my nigga, I love you, bro. You know I love you. That's the reason I go so hard on you, and you know this. But he'll go on social media hard and start talking this hoorah-rah shit because he wants people to side with him. But that's not what we go for. You see what I'm saying? Because he needs people to believe in him. Bro, listen. And I'm talking this to everybody because I know so many people that remind me of my little bro, my little homie, my little mans, right? We are at war with ourselves. And in the event of discovering what the truth behind all of it is, we lash out at everybody around us. We start to attack everybody around us. We lack the respect that we should necessarily have for the people around us. Why? Because we haven't yet learned how to define that respect inside of ourselves. Because we are still mentally, spiritually, energetically drained by the reality. Because so many people want to be perceived or looked at as somebody that they're really not. And it's energy draining for people to try to maintain and keep up with egos that really are not who they are. Just are a composite of different painful experiences that they're trying to project into the reality as a defense mechanism and as a personality at the same time. So I don't want to go too far into all that, man. I do appreciate everybody that, you know what I'm saying, stand around and that take the time to actually go through this video. I don't want nobody to think that I'm, you know, beefing with nobody. I don't, hey, listen, and if you think I'm beefing with you, that's cool too. I'm fine with that, you know, however, whenever, whatever. I just want everybody to get this information so that we can actually come together and start building things, start re-erecting cities now, start redesigning things that we can control and harness our own power. It doesn't take, you might think that it's hard to literally get your own energy, your own power so that you can like supply your own house. No, man, these power companies ain't doing nothing but using these satellites, bro. You can take some ordinary shit from around your house, create some shit that you can use to generate power and provide your home with power instead of paying them people. But these people preying on your lack of intelligence. They're preying on our ignorance. Well, now is the time for this shit to stop. Now is the time that the gods are standing back up. We're here. We're woke. We're awake. Not just saying that we're awake because we know that lies have been taking place. Part of being awoke is reinstilling the entire planetary system, rebuilding that grid, that neural network of the entire planetary system, man, on multiple dimensions. In and out of time lines, I promise. So with that being said, it's always hard to say goodbye. I love y'all. I gotta say goodbye. If there's anything that y'all want to do, man, listen, you can get at me on Facebook, Dynamo Jakk. You can email me at iamjackchrist@gmail.com. So just get at me. I love y'all, man. Homies. Peace.